RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. We are live for a Monday edition. Excited to be back. Looking forward to connecting and finding out what's on your radar this evening. Welcome. Hope everyone's doing well. As always, want to make sure I acknowledge any first time viewers or welcome anybody to the fold. My name is Mike, the host of Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. And I got a couple stories worth touching on, primarily Biden focused. A lot of distractions happening around the world, nothing new on the surface outright, but I'm curious to find out what you guys have been keeping an eye on. And so, as always, let me know where you're watching from via the chat. And when the phone lines open up, we'll love to hear from you directly. The numbers 313-462-0027. We'll love to connect and hear what's going on. So let me dive in via the chat real quick, acknowledge a couple of people, then we can touch on some relevant subject matter as well as what you guys have been up to, what new strategies, solutions, you name it. It's all fair game here tonight. Let me see. We got the Pothead BTC checking in. We got Jojo checking in. We got Ronald over here. Says, we're not getting any younger waiting on you. Appreciate your patience, my friend. We got Mr. Nitty, Mr. Steve, an alternative checking in. We got Pablo Pina. We got King D checking in, DC Precise, Philman. We got Natural Mama in the building. We got Barlight Broker. What else we got here? Tricky. Okay, checking in as well. Tricky D checking in. Appreciate you, man. So let's just jump right in, man. We got Keenan checking in. Normalcy bias is strong, growing in me now. Yeah, Keenan, man, give me a call. Let's talk, man. I'm curious to hear more about that, what you're seeing on your side of town. Tony B checking in. Let me see here. Okay, so just a couple articles that caught my attention today. So many things have been happening at this point of the game. It's kind of hard to pinpoint what particular subject matters is worth most, is the most, I guess, relevant or worth focusing on. And so that's why I want to definitely leave it up to you guys to kind of steer the ship tonight as to where you guys want to focus, what you guys want to focus on. Because, of course, we got the mainstream narrative of things that's being shoved down our throat. A lot of that stuff with the Rittenhouse trial and all the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, all that, all that stuff. It's getting relatively old. I mean, it's not really anything new because they're using the same tactics to keep us distracted while looking over there. While the Maxio trial has not really been talked about, as well as all the events unfolding with Russia and the Ukraine. And, those are issues I think are more worth our time just to kind of get an idea as to what's going on and what we should be focused on. But anyway, let me see a couple more people checking in. We got Jermaine Scott checking in. Appreciate you. AG stacking them. Said 10 explosions in China in the last 10 days. Tricky. That's the subject definitely worth touching on. So I heard about that. I think it was last week with some explosions. Didn't dive down that rabbit hole to find out what's going on. And then, Rolf, I did see that Obama got a nice, healthy donation from Bezos. And so feel free. Let's talk about that. Let me actually look that up real quick because it has not gotten much attention on my side of town. Let me see here. As far as some of those explosions in China, let me see what pops up here as I just scan through the airways and see. Let me see anything. What sticks out? Nothing really pops up with the great detail on that. So yeah, feel free. So I heard about it, not too familiar with it. So feel free to elaborate more on that subject matter and let me know what's going on with that one. But definitely something we can touch on. What else here? So let me just jump into a couple headlines here, and then I'll open up the phone lines and we can just have at it with whatever you guys want to touch on. It says no counter. What we got here? Let me see. It's Beyond Wine News. Okay, let me look that up real quick and see what pops up. Explosions. The breaking news. Let me see. 5 killed. Okay, I see something here about people killed in the Eastern China. Let me see if this is. No, this is an older article. Yeah, so feel free. Shoot me a link. Or if you are able to go directly to those news sources and grab something, feel free to shoot me a link. Let me actually put up on the screen here where you guys can send something to if you want to, and I'll try to grab that. So feel free, Tricky, to throw me an article, whatnot. I'll try to jump on it and we can highlight it. So definitely want to do that. But let's just dive into some of the things that is getting airways today. Yeah, it's stuff that makes me laugh. So here we have, Biden apparently renominates Powell as the Fed chair, nominates Brainerd as the vice chair. And so I was under the impression, just that for the sake of providing a more accommodative environment, that Brannert would probably be the go-to person for that. But then after thinking about it a little bit, I realized that the current pace we're on, with the continuation of the recovery narrative on one side and the attempt to dial back some of the easing measurements, uh, no matter who's actually running the helm of the Federal Reserve, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to work. They can't raise rates, and it's just a matter of time before they're forced to come back into the market with more accommodative policies. So I think it's interesting that Powell decided to, or Powell is, going to continue on at the Fed. I think that's interesting, but yet there's no way out of this trap that they put themselves in. It's either you inflate or you deflate, and they're afraid of deflating, so they're going to continue to inflate to keep this thing moving forward. So I thought this was interesting. And so, of course, the markets allegedly responded. There was a dip in the metal space, but then again, we reached an all-time high in a couple of equity indexes at the same time. So the market, I guess, responded favorably in the fact that they can expect more good information for themselves coming from the Federal Reserve with the Fed speak and all the stuff they like to do ahead of time. So just something worthwhile. Curious to hear what you guys think about that. Let me know. Yeah, over here it says, Mike, what did you think of the Soviet Marxist nominee for comptroller, Comrade? Yeah, so I ended up watching a good portion of that little hearing or whatnot for the comptroller position. And I think the sad part is, and this is what I meant to like kind of tweet something out, kind of like in a smart aleck, right, type of way. But if you look at who the current U.S. Let me see. Let me type this. If you look at who the current health, let me see here, because this is when you look at who the current health general is of the United States. Let me when you look at who the same people who voted for the health official. And so when I saw this, when I saw the whole attempt at grilling and making the comptroller look very communistic like and Marxist like in her, with her prior white papers and speeches, all the things she's given, it's clear out, it's outright that she's, sleeping, or she's a part of the enemy's plan to destroy our country even further with the outright destruction of the currency and banking regulation, you name it. But then again, I'm thinking like, I haven't followed up since I saw that presentation there, but I would assume that if they can allow someone like this, the person who is Doctor is now Dr. Rachel, but is really Dr. Richard. And so this person here went through the whole grilling by Congress as well, and he got appointed. And you see how this is not the best representation for a health official to lead our country. And so I had thoughts of this. If they grilled him, he did not answer a single question whatsoever. He got in. So the possibility, the likelihood of the comptroller at some point, whether it's now or in the next couple of months or whatever, it's very possible that she would get in, just because at this current moment, nothing really makes sense as far as any type of person is qualified that would do a good job. At the same time, all government officials, the majority of them, are all bought and paid for. And so, yeah, the comptroller situation to me is comical because she shouldn't be a candidate, but yet once again they're actually giving that serious consideration. So it's quite comical to say the least. But that's just my first thought when I saw the whole comptroller situation. And then here's a little bit more. Given the fact this week is Thanksgiving week, I thought this article was interesting here because it talks about Biden's Thanksgiving. And so let me zoom in some here. It says Biden's Thanksgiving is the most expensive ever, as traditional dinner cost soars 14%. And then I was actually looking in the Discord page, the RTD Discord page, and it looks like somebody in the community showed a couple pictures, or several pictures, just highlighting, I guess, one of their grocery stores in their area and how empty and bare the shelves were. And I thought that was just a very timely article, just to be the most expensive of all time. And is it the beginning of many more to come? I don't know, but we will see. There's multiple narratives out there as to where the economy is heading. But yet, I guess the underlying point of everything is that there's no natural growth of the economy, nowhere to be found, while we're also being fed the narrative that we're fighting inflation as well. But yet, once again, it's not showing up every single place. But anyway, just as an interesting graph here showing how the cost of Thanksgiving dinner has, compared from last year to this year, how it's gone up significantly. And then I myself was in a store yesterday, was looking at some hams and looking at those price tags. And them boys were pretty hefty. So let me know what you guys think or what you guys see in your neck of the woods. And then here's another article here that is right on time. It says Joe Biden intends to run again in 2024, the White House confirmed. So this guy, I think over the weekend, turned 79 years old. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I read somewhere about him being the oldest president or something like that. And we all know his current health condition based upon what we see and his inability to maintain a actual conversation without fumbling or stumbling or completely botching his speeches. But one thing I do notice, every video I see where there are some kids on stage, Joe Biden gets very cheerful and he loves talking to the kids and, poking them and touching on them and stuff like that. So, yeah, children seem to really, put a pep in Joe's step. But anyway, so once again, as I've always said before, my personal opinion is that between now and 2024, there's going to be so much destruction of the economy, as well as with this current tyrannical health situation that's being imposed on the world. I'm not anticipating any type of normal process of a presidential election by that time. That's just my opinion. So let me know what you guys think. And then also keep it moving. Just some other things I thought was worth talking about. So I remember over the summer we talked about El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, and it looks like they're up in the game even more. So we'll get a chance to see how this plays out, but this could be another door opener for what will be considered as a global movement here. But El Salvador will launch the Bitcoin bond that pays special dividend amid plans for the new crypto city. So I think this is definitely something worth keeping an eye on, because it's been a long time, if ever, that I can recall, that there being something that can be considered as a competitor to the current reserve status of the dollar. The fact that they're looking to issue debt denominated in dollars to fund their city and then pay people for lending them funds is quite interesting. But my whole thing on this is it would have been better if this whole Bitcoin bond situation was done where it wasn't priced in dollar terms, but they actually used Bitcoin itself at some particular amount as the actual measuring stick to issue this bond, and not necessarily have it associated with and denominated in the dollar, even though, of course, you got to go back to dollars to actually pay for things. But since Bitcoin is legal tender there, why not just have it full-fledged BTC as the anchor itself and not necessarily even mention dollars in their equation? So we'll see. But curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. And then how can we not talk about what's really going on in Europe and how things are creeping in steady but surely? But Germany and Netherlands face tightening rules as Austria enters lockdown. And so it's interesting to see how there's been beaucoup protest over it in Europe. Not much attention being given, really, none whatsoever. But here's a list. I was trying to find a list of all the places where there's been movements, where people out in the streets protest and letting their voice be heard. And a good portion of, or not all of these, happen to be in the Eastern Hemisphere, of which majority of these countries here, they already have the COVID pass and the apps and the QR codes and all that stuff officially there. And the people are not too happy with that. So they're in the streets in all these countries here. And then here is just a little video footage I thought it was worth bringing to your attention, because you won't see it anywhere else really. But here's 9 videos that somebody put together of all the different countries, where we got Canada here, we got, looks like France there, I think we got Australia here, and right on around. So they're in the streets protesting heavily. They're letting their voice be heard. So now it's just a matter of how long before these type of events, where they're taking up entire center squares in towns, actually, show itself here in the U.S. So, but anyway, more stuff to talk about. We can get into that though. I hope everyone is doing well. Let's talk. What do you guys want to touch on? Feel free to let me know in the chat, and then also let's open the phone lines a little bit and find out what's on your radar. So let me do this here, and I'll jump right in. So, as always, for those that are tuning in, hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. Definitely helps out a lot. Hopefully, it notify a few more people. You said eating ham is not lawful according to scriptures. No doubt. 100%. El Salvador means the savior. What else we got? Who's censoring me? What else we got going here? Stupid to frack a volcano. What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, so apparently, so TB, based upon the whole volcano situation in El Salvador, the current Bitcoin mining infrastructure is dependent upon what appears to be an active volcano. But that Bitcoin city is going to be built near a city where the volcano is not active, but yet they still have um, some opportunities to tap into the geothermal energy there to use that. So, and that's where it's unfortunate that I can see some type of event happening where those volcanoes are activated, just because we have not we, but the people that are controlled of a lot of things nowadays have the ability to manipulate weather and do all types of things as far as creating earthquakes and stuff like that. So it wouldn't be too hard, I would assume, to activate one of those volcanoes and cause a lot of damage if the whole Bitcoin city and the Bitcoin movement was not a part of their plan. But yet, the more and more this stuff plays out, it just seems too timely that this is by accident. So I think a lot of this stuff is right on time according to their script as to how they want the decentralized space to succeed in the interim time until they are officially able to roll out their CBDC stuff, which is definitely in the pipeline for a lot of countries. Pablo says, I hear the UNV will face the lockdowns and be excluded in daily routines, which produce the protests. Yeah, so Pablo, to my knowledge, because I tend to try to pay attention to more of those events because I think those are probably the most important to our overall long-term picture, because there's no way of escaping all this type of stuff in some form or some fashion. But initially it was rolled out that those who have not participated, they would themselves be cut off from society, i.e. locked down. And then the protests began, and then they lumped everybody into that same category as far as if everybody in the state or in the country itself has shut it down a little bit. And I want to say they gave a time frame. I want to say it was 20 days, if I'm not mistaken. Let me actually pull that back up here. So I think the time frame initially was 20 days. Let me see here. It was 20 days allegedly, but here is go back to this this article here. Here's a little map here, and it said which European countries are being hit the hardest. And of course, these are their numbers, but all of these countries here, if you just look at the science and look at the numbers, all of those countries, a good portion of them are a good portion of the people have participated. So all the alleged cases is being led by those who have been vaccinated, and that's the part where they won't tell you that part. But yeah, just more stuff worth touching on. Let me see here. What's we got Jermaine Scott say amen. Let me see. We got Brandon. All right, so let me see. It says BTC buy the dip at 56K. So yeah, given the fact that we're still and this is where I think just the emotions behind actually using your own funds to get involved in a speculative way as well. And then also when it comes to the metal sake, nothing's changed whatsoever. Game is still on. We're heading towards the end of this current monetary paradigm. Now it's just a matter of at what pace. I was under the impression that if Biden would have put in Brannard, they would have sped up the pace by being a lot more accommodative and looking to roll out some of those UBI programs a lot faster and, more possible stimulus checks and stuff like that. But with Powell staying on board, I think they're going to stay the same course, continue to preach the whole taper narrative. And then, of course, it's coming out now from all the economists that the idea of them being able to actually raise rates at least once or twice next year is not happening. And so there's going to be some type of event. I'm still expecting some type of event because there has been no recovery whatsoever. We're more close to a recession, if we've ever left the prior recession, than anything else. So any opportunity you have to participate in something that you believe in, the price right now is definitely favorable to you. It's unfortunate that most people like to see, green candles before they jump into something. But now it's just a matter of how much do you believe in the space and how much you're willing to put on the line and possibly lose or, be able to gain from it. And so the same thing applies whether it's, the crypto space, if that's something that you believe in and want to participate in, or the metals. Just like, there's always going to be opportunities right now because we're still on course. They're still going to, continue to expand the monetary base, and eventually it's going to all leak out into society, continue driving up prices even more so than what's happening now. And these things here will act as hedges / sponges to all that liquidity that's been pumped out there. So here we got the metal prices. Once again, took a little dip today, a buying opportunity for those that are awake and aware and know what's going on. So this is my little 2 cents on that. Mr. Steve says Melbourne protest was the biggest political rally since the Vietnam War. So yeah, so that was definitely big. And then also there was an event, I think it was in Rome. They showed like, I don't know if it was like what area of Rome it was, but it was some video circulating that was like, it was mind blowing to see all the people that turned out. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see if I can find the video footage. That was pretty sick. So here, here we go right here. So I typed in Rome protest on Twitter. And so here's just something. This is, let me zoom out some. This is, what is this here? This was over the weekend. And then here is the one I want to talk about here. This right here. This looked like some type of concert or something like that. It says thousands gather in Rome, Italy to protest against the country's health pass. So this right here is pretty serious as well. So it's happening everywhere. People are out there. And it's just a matter of continuing to stick to your guns, literally, in a sense, of not giving in. And then to take it even further, man, just today, I saw articles talking about the camps that are opening up in Australia. And so they have in some particular area in Australia, they're opening up their camps, their, what you call them, concentration camps, whatever you want to call them. But as of now, there's, I think the numbers are small. I think it was 38 people was the initial, they had the military trucks coming to pick up people, as well as the people who tested positive, as well as the people who was associated to them through contact tracing. So this right here is the first of its kind as well. And it will not end nicely whatsoever, because there's going to be a lot more. I think even the health minister today was talking about how, of course, expect more. There's going to be more. That's just how things are going to be. So, yeah. Anyway, let me see. I'm missing some calls here. Let me do. All right. So, yeah, phone line's open. Give me a call. Curious to hear what else is in your mind. Feel free to chime in. Let me know. Let me see here. Scroll down. Get caught up in the chat here. It says Mr. YouTube, which Mike RT on YouTube, which is supported by Russian television shows, many of the rights and demonstration in Europe, not shown by the U.S. media. Definitely. And that's good. So a lot of the video footage, I do happen to subscribe to RT channel, so I do see it. But I want to say the RT news station that was here, I think in DC, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say that they had some issues with their broadcasting directly in the U.S. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but I remember hearing some issues that was being brought towards RT as being, a Russian-sponsored televisions. They're trying to make it seem like because they're Russian, they shouldn't be here or whatever. Let me see here. Like anyone says later, Gene, Mike needs to make you a Gene. Let me see. So what happened with Gene? Let me see here. It says Mike, hearing some of the contrary and believe that we have actually seen deflation in prices because of gluts of some products. Yes, and so that's the counter to the inflation narrative that they are shoving down our throats. And so ultimately, I think the bigger picture behind everything is deflation, and there's the pockets of increase in consumer asset prices in regards to consumable goods is what we're primarily being told is the biggest issue, i.e. when we see articles about Thanksgiving being the most expensive ever, as well as just the overall cost for energy and all the things that we actually use on a day-to-day basis. Those prices there have gone up a little bit. But then again, you have the idea that globally, the debt itself, the debt load is so much of a problem that as more defaults, more bankruptcies, more of the issues in servicing that debt, that right there is a much bigger issue that they would like to not address or not even talk about. So they don't talk about the debt. They don't talk about the very nature of the system itself. If it doesn't continue to be expanded, i.e. their 2% inflation mandate, then the system would implode on itself. So debt is the issue, and they're preaching inflation because they want the public to get used to the idea that in order to, I guess, keep this thing going, they need the inflation narrative to take off even more. But ultimately, they're fighting deflation because debt in of itself, left alone and unpaid, is deflationary because when it goes belly up and people don't repay, it's like a contagion event that just happens to bring down and suck down every single thing that's associated with it. And that's all the asset prices, the real estate, and all the stuff like that they don't want to uh, have be subject to deflation. So I hear you on that one. Let me see here. It says Albert says, live in Louisiana, not from here, mind you. It's pretty free here. Long growing season. I don't mess around with one. I have it go to silver addiction. I guess not a bad addition to have whatsoever. Over here, let me see here. Over here it says, Mike, I have accelerated my precious metal purchase in the last week. Yeah, and that's one of the things where I was thinking about that earlier myself. And so whenever I get some extra crumbs, I definitely get my weight up just because it's been an ongoing thing, just because it's a part of my habit of, and of not even, it's not even investing. Buying metals is not even, to me, it's not even considered investing. For me, it's more so redeeming dying fiat currencies and basically buying, fiat currency insurance in a sense. So it's something that I just do naturally out of habit, with no idea, no intention to ever really want to use it other than just having it as an insurance policy down the line that I hope to never have to draw upon for the need to unload some of it for purchasing or whatever it might be at that time. And so that's the fine line, I think, is now, given the fact that precious metal prices can continue to stay relatively even keel for quite some time, possibly due to the manipulation factor. So do you want to continue to unload your fiat to get into metals, or do you want to have probably a little bigger of a pot on the side for some type of actual market event that I think is probably coming, to where there's going to be even bigger fire sale in other assets that might be available for a short period of time before the spigot is turned back on at a much more higher level. Therefore, of course, keeping asset prices going to take off to the moon, of course. So your channel is possibly being monitored. Lala says, Mike, I think your channel is possibly being monitored. What are you referring to there? Let me know what you're talking about. Let me see if something happened in the chat I'm not aware of. It says, are there any graphs that illustrate the severity of crap we are in? Is there any charts? Are there any charts, the graphs that illustrate the severity of the crap we are in? Let me see chart. So, my preferred chart that I actually have here that's handy happens to be the long-term viewpoint of the diminishing of your purchasing power. And so this is my go-to graph or chart right here. So for over the last 108 years, soon to be 109, every single president, regardless of what political party they are associated with, that has come into office, has played a part in destroying your ability to preserve and protect your time and energy and your talent with the fiat currency game that they've pulled over the entire world. And as it's coming to an end, it's my personal opinion that Biden will be the last administration under this current Federal Reserve paradigm. And then we're going to be ushered into something completely new. So to me, this is, the whole rethinking the dollar concept. This is the ultimate graph here showing that, a Federal Reserve note, i.e. a dollar as we know it as, purchase a lot less now than it ever has before. And we haven't even seen the worst of it yet, in my opinion. So let me know what other graphs you guys want to put out there. So we have, let me see, it says, I'm waiting for the housing crash. Yeah, that's going to be something. And yes. So, and that's it. So initially, that sounds like it might be a great buying opportunity. But my thought to go along with that, if there is a severe housing crash, there will also be a severe banking crisis as well, because all the mortgages that are on these houses are in the coffers of the banks as well as the Federal Reserve. So there just won't be an isolated event of just houses going down or the equity markets going down. I would anticipate there being some type of systemic banking event. Mind you, as of March last year, the commercial banks, the too big to fail banks especially, they have all the restrictions removed off their need to have a reserve account, as far as them actually having to have currency on hand to be able to distribute to the depositor. So there's a zero capital reserve limitation on the bank. So there's literally there's no funds there. People like people are literally, all we have now are digits on a screen. Like the idea of a small percentage of people actually wanting to go to the banks to withdraw at one time, it's not happening because there's no reserve requirements for the banks. And so we are also witnessing the whole the push of depositors' funds back into the hands of the Federal Reserve, i.e., the reverse repo situation. So there's definitely right now there's some banking events I believe going on right now that would probably make it a challenge to actually transact normally when it comes time to purchasing houses and stuff like that. Because I can imagine there being so much chaos that it's not as fluid as it usually might be to purchase a lot of these assets when they are on sale, because of the liquidity crunch that is ultimately the pressing issue behind this debt being imploded. This debt implosion is happening now. But I hear you though. In normal times, it will be great to be able to take advantage of a lot of those opportunities there. But then again, I think if there is some type of systemic event that's in the near future, just because the debt can't continue to go up without there being some type of hiccup, so it's going to be hard to transact as normal, I believe. Let me see here. So Papa Pina says, use precious metal for purchasing power, more bang for the OZ. Let me see here. So Def Douglas says, how does the anti-human environmentalist movement not in a genocide to save the planet, of course? That's a very healthy question there, my friend. There was an actual article. Let me see here. And a lot of this there's a lot of this movement of trying to depopulate the planet and then use a remnant of those that might be left over, transition them into that whole metaverse is the ultimate agenda, because I think that's the ultimate, and it will be the ultimate enslavement of people, because everything that people will be used to will be in some digital form and fashion at that point. So I think, how this plays out with the whole transhumanism aspect is, I think, and down the line, probably within the next decade is when all that stuff will really be fully known, because at that point there will be a much greater use case of the whole metaverse, and people actually probably preferring to stay plugged into that, because I think they meaning people who want to stay plugged in will perceive that they have a much better life being plugged into some digital illusion rather than the real world. So that lets me know that if that is the case, then events that's happening in real life will be very different, to the point where most people would probably prefer to escape if they could. That's some biblical stuff right there. But anyway, let's talk again. See, I'm missing. So let me get this here. Let me see if I can get this call. So I apologize. I have been missing calls while on my rants. But anyway, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Make sure it's turned up. Hello, anybody there? Going once, going twice, maybe not. All right, give me a call. Let's talk. Mike says they will just get bailed out again. That's a possibility. Anything's possible. My guess would be that because of the movement to transition us digital already, I don't necessarily think there'll be much of a need to bail them out, because as of now, they already have more than enough currency on hand because of this last year plus of all those stimulus checks and all that extra currency that was created and transferred over to the people was put right back into the banks. So they have more than enough currency to last them a while. Now, what will probably happen is a bail in. And so the Dodd-Frank bill that was signed in 2013, I think, puts bail-ins as a part of the next equation. So it is lawful for the too big to fail banks to hold your capital as basically as as equity in their company, in a sense, and they will keep your funds and issue you an IOU of some kind. And I think that is a possibility that at that same moment that you're not able to withdraw your funds, all the too big to fail banks can be transferred right into the hands of the Federal Reserve Bank, i.e., like the new potential comptroller wants to do, and then they can issue you a new form of fiat in the form of the CBDC Fed coin, and it makes it appear as if like you're saying 5,500, 100,000 you had in your Bank of America. In this new paradigm that they're shifting us into, you can go on your app and download the Federal Reserve app, and that same 100,000 looks like the same in it's 100,000 or something like that in your in your Fed coin type of thing. So that's the type of trickery that I think is probably more than likely to happen rather than a bailout, because I don't think it wouldn't fly. It wouldn't fly, and I don't think they even want to bail out, because once again they want to bail in because they have the right to now take your funds, because once the money that you have, the currency you have, you put in the bank, you're a creditor of the bank, so it's not yours anyway. So basically the risk falls on you. Says, does anyone have a line of paragraph reference to the Bellion Bank and Donald Frank? So good point, Jeff. Let me I actually pulled up some of that before, but I'm sure I can grab something real quick that could prove that point there. Let me see if I can grab something real quick, because I did read it for myself. Let me see here. Here's some things. Let me grab this here. This looks like it might be here. So this is just some good information worth knowing. Let me do balance becomes statutory. Let me see, because there is a bail and a bail. Let me see if I can find it. There is. Let me see. I can take you right to the actual clause if I can find it. Give me 1 second here. Talk amongst yourselves, you don't mind, because I would be curious to see if I can find it myself real quick. If not, it is there. How does bank make it legal for banks to confiscate funds? Okay, here's an article here for whatever it's worth, but it's in there. It's not hard to find. I just can't find it right now off air. But it says, how does Dodd-Frank make it legal for banks to confiscate funds during a banking crisis? This is 2019. And if you read through the clause, it's basically they give power to the FDIC to be the overseer of that transition of recapitalizing all the too big to fail banks. And then also to add to that, every too big to fail bank, I think it was every year or every 2 years, they're supposed to submit some type of bankruptcy style report as to how much they have and all they subsidiaries and stuff like that, and how they would have to basically pay different tiers of creditors first. And of course, the very last tier happened to be the actual depositors, and you get remaining crumbs, if anything. So, but it was a quite nifty scheme concocted after the Dodd-Frank to instill confidence, to help people feel like they could trust the banks again by keeping their funds there, while all along they were being plotted against as well. So, Peanut, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for the love offering there. Toshiba Mike says the bail-in is part of the application when you hide a checking account. Definitely. And of course, I'd imagine at this point, everybody that's tuned in, you guys know how the overall banking structure work and how banks are not your friend. And so, like I've always said, and I think even moving forward into this decade here, more of the risk falls on you, because you can have all your funds or majority of your funds parked in banks, but yet once again, you're not earning anything, and whatever little bit of interest you're getting, it's negative, it's well beneath the inflation rate, so you're losing. So at this point, I can see how more people are steered towards the decentralized crypto space, because what I find to be interesting is you can take the same fiat notes, convert them to stable coins, put those stable coins to work for you, and earn damn near double of what you can, or not double, but 5-6 times more we can earn actually parking in banks and keeping it in the commercial bank dollar note. So just something that some people are doing. I admit myself, I do dip and dabble in that space. So I try to stay as well informed as I can, so that I'm not being left out. So let's be honest here. They could print 10 trillion and steal it and tell you no one is going to lift it. Yeah, Rolf, unfortunately, that's the case. And that's, I think, majority of the population still in that a sleep state of mind to where they think everything is fine. They believe the narrative, everything is going back to normal. And it's the fact that here in America, most people have worked too hard to, I guess, go to believe that they run the risk of losing it all. And it's not even anything they can really do about it. Like, my question would be, how many trillions can you create before people will start to question how that would impact my saving ability as well as my retirement ability in the future? Because you can't keep creating trillions and trillions and trillions and still think you're going to be able to save at a rate that would allow you to enjoy retirement. And that's why I think a lot of people who are not aware of the disastrous policies being thrown out there, they run the risk of having suffered the most pain because they're literally thinking that they can continue to work hard and save, and it just not somehow, some way be eroded and taken away from them. I do like how, what's his name? Michael Saylor mentioned how for his company, he compares that they had $500 million in their treasury, as their savings. And he was like, it's the equivalent of holding melting ice cubes in your hand when you see your hard work, your creativity just melting out of your hands at the rate of 20% a year, compounded. He was like, I couldn't hold dollars. We had to get out of those things as quick as we could. So it kind of applies to us as well. Whether we're sitting on a couple dollars here, a couple thousand, a couple million, whatever, it's the equivalent of melting ice cubes in your hands, because the more currency that's being brought into existence, the more diluted your currency has in purchasing power. Anyway, let me see. I am some call. So give me a call if you guys want to chit chat. What else is in mind? Lots of stuff we're touching on. What else is new out there that we may not be familiar with? Anybody out there keeping eyes on certain things? Let me know. It says Mike has let me see here. So I have, let me see here. Yep. So I missed a couple, but it's calls and some hangups. So says Mike always hating on Sailor. King D, I don't hate. It's hard to believe that he has positioned himself as the spokesman for this whole movement towards BTC. And I just don't find it as like he's doing it from a humanitarian standpoint where he wants to see humanity succeed, but because he doesn't spend enough time pointing the finger at the culprits of this scheme. The fact that central banks, he doesn't call out Powell. He keeps it strictly political. He has a nice bag on the side, and all he has to do is continue to educate people and talk about how important it is to hold it, and people are going to get in because he's getting featured on CNBC, MSNBC, all these places. He's a spokesman now, and it's approved by the media. So that right there just makes me question like what exactly is going on. But I have a thought of as to why that is. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hi, good evening. This is Latrice calling from Brooklyn.
Hey there. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
Okay. When I said that your channel may seem monitored, I'm aware that when you put in certain words online or in like places like on apps like YouTube, that they monitor the types of words you put, and you have to really be selective with your words.
Right.
But the reason why I said maybe monitor is because even after I spell the word incorrectly, I'm not going to repeat it online, because if you are being monitored, I don't want to red flag you. I don't want to be the one to red flag you.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, but even when I misspelled the word, it still didn't allow the post to go up. So I'm like, it blocked it the 2 times when I spelled it correctly. Then it blocked it after I put it with the misspelling. So that made me think, So that's what I meant when I said in the comment section about your channel may be monitored. I mean, if you think about it, the conversations that go on, we're talking about, the current events of the day, but these are still some hot button topics.
Yeah.
And it would just make sense. A lot of channels are getting monitored, so I just was throwing that out there so we all could just be a little more mindful.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I just sent something in the chat, and it didn't go up for whatever reason. But what I was saying was, and I don't think this should be so controversial, but have you seen where they're saying that they're giving out stimulus checks like to certain states right now?
Certain states. I know some states are experimenting with, some small test subjects, but I wasn't sure they'd given out completely. But what states?
Oh, I don't have the list. I posted some of the articles in your RTD Telegram community page, but yeah, some states, certain states, they're getting stimulus checks now until the end of the year. And I guess this is still some leftover money from whatever COVID Act, whatever that they put in. And that was just one of the things I was throwing out there. And the other thing was when you was mentioning about
you broke up there for a minute. You broke up for a second. What were you saying? What were you talking about?
The guy Sailor, he did a debate on oh my gosh, what's the name of this
he's done a couple of them things. She's going in and out.
Stratusberry. Is it called Stratusberry?
Stratusberry, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, yeah, Stratusberry report. And I forgot the other person he was debating right now because, oh my goodness, this is terrible. My brain is right now. But he tried so hard to push the whole idea about how, crypto is basically king or whatever. But the other guy, his argument far superseded the whole thing about why gold is a more secure, precious metals really, but he was advocating for gold in particular.
Yeah.
Why that's more sound money. Hillary Clinton right now is trying to say that crypto is going to be the new, future currency and how it's going to kill the dollar. So she had some sort of thing where she was trying to talk to she had a conference like thing or whatever, something like that. I was trying to put something out there talking about crypto. So, when Hillary Clinton starts talking about, there you go. I think that was the debate.
Yeah.
When Hillary Clinton is talking about the financial, system, I think we all really need to pay attention because we know she don't got our best interest at heart. Last thing, for Bill Gates, he talked about that he predicts the next pandemic is going to be the smallpox, right?
Right.
And then they said there was a story in Philadelphia. A story that came out. If the FBI supposedly found some vials of smallpox, which they claim was eradicated from in the 70s.
Yeah.
You heard about that? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, you're talking about with the Hillary Clinton. Okay, I see everything. Right. Well, I want to just give this information out to your audience so they can get ready, because I've been trying to put the word out ever since I learned about this. If you Google it online, they'll say that there's no cure for smallpox. Not true. The Native American Indians, they found a cure for when the Europeans came and they brought the smallpox over here and they was infecting them. There is a plant. I cannot say the name of the plant because I don't know how to pronounce it, but I can spell it. So I'm going to spell it real slow. So everybody grab a pencil, pen, or whatever. I'm going to put it in the chat. But it's spelled S as in Sam, A-R-R, A-C like Kathy, E, N like Nancy, I-A. That's the first word. And the last name of it is spelled P as in Peter, U-R, P as in Peter, U-R, E as in Eric, A. That's the name. It's a carnivorous plant. So you can actually purchase the plant and have the live specimen, or you can buy the extract. It is a cure. It is a cure to any type of pox virus, to the smallpox, the chickenpox, the monkeypox, any type of pox virus. It stops it dead in its tracks. It doesn't allow it to replicate or, wreak havoc in the system, because a lot of people die from smallpox in history from basically not the virus itself, but the complications from like the dehydration and whatever else their body had to suffer, like, secondary infection. So please, I'm going to put it in the chat again, but everybody, an ounce of prevention. If this man is, he predicted this pandemic, so who's to say the next one he's predicted might not be? So let's be forewarned and forearmed, and then that way we be ahead of the game, and our families and everybody can be safe against it. So this is what I'm doing out there for tonight, and that's it.
Appreciate you. Yeah, definitely throw that in the chat. Put that in Telegram as well. I'm curious to find out more about it myself, so appreciate you.
All right. Have a great night, everyone.
Be good. Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. I see a lot of thoughts out there in the chat. Let's talk. Feel free to give me a call. Curious to find out what else is on your mind here. Let me see. Here's a quick thought. It looks like it says, Mike, why will they bail out They have legislation for bail-ins, unsecured bank accounts, all holders, unsecured vendors, the bank account no longer depositors. Right. So that was kind of what I was hinting at. I don't see a bailout. That's not a part of the plan. That's why the whole Dodd-Frank was put into place to bail in. Or maybe I'm behind a little bit. Yeah, it sounds like she has some that sound like a dog in the background going crazy. So LB blood pressure at cannabis sativa. Okay, we go. Hello, Carlos. Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Mike?
What's up?
Miles,
How you doing?
Miles from NY.
Miles, what's going on, my friend?
Everything's good. Everything's good, Mike. I just got a question. Let me ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
When do you think it'll all end? There has to come a point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even after we go to like hyperinflation, everything goes crazy. Hyperinflation, deflation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But when do you think it's going to come to that point where the people say, okay, look, we can't take the dollar no more, and we need to do something else? I mean, outside of the system, because that's how it always is. You know, it's never the government that starts the next process. It's the people. You know, the people come and they say, okay, look, we want sound money, we're doing this in our black market, and the government just comes in and gets their piece of it after a while, you know?
Yeah.
When do you think that point is going to come where people are going to say, okay, look, I mean, once we're in the throes and it's full blast and everything's going already,
yeah.
You know, how long before people actually wake up? I don't know if there's any, because I've been looking for it. I see all of the different, you know, stats and everything about how long people been in inflation, when it starts, and how the process usually goes. But you don't never see that timeline to where as though when people say, okay, and they wake up and say, okay, we don't want this anymore, and we're going to start something new.
Yeah. Great question. I have no clue in really trying to give there's no right or wrong. I don't know. But I know one thing. What's different about this current event when it comes to the threat of a extreme inflation or hyperinflation in a world reserve currency like the dollar, because the Federal Reserve notes and the system itself is global. Like here in the US, we can still face increased asset prices as far as our consumable goods. But then again, the world still needs Federal Reserve notes and dollars. So it's one of those things where we can experience high inflation here, but yet the world continue to basically have a shortage of dollars to where that right there can prolong the system for quite some time. So like outright hyperinflation to where the world rejects the dollar, I wouldn't begin to know how that will play out, just because I think we already have pockets around the world where people have already made choices as to what they want to hold or to use. So we got El Salvador with Bitcoin, we got Russia and China, of course, they got gold in their plans. So the dollar itself is literally just being used as a last little bit of a tool to usher in something new. Now, how it comes out, I don't know. So I don't think we're going to see hyperinflation where we see wheelbarrows of dollars in the street type of thing, because most of them are digital already. So because we're in a predominant digital world, I don't know if it'll play out like it has in prior years via hyperinflation wise. So, but as far as confidence,
I don't think that. But what I do think is going to happen is they're going to see the dollar falling, us getting less stuff, and all these countries using things like gold, silver, cryptos, and things like that. And we're not going to get left behind. We're going to see our standard decrease in places like Mexico, Venezuela, and all other places shoot up and start getting things, you know. And we're going to be like, okay, look, our dollar isn't worth anything, you know, compared to them. Yeah. And even though we still have we're going to have the world's reserve currency, or what it's called, it's not going to be worth anything, because them countries are going to be like, look, we don't need it for anything. Right. You know, shit. Yeah. What do you really need them for?
Right.
You know?
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. But in the meantime, I think the average person who has no clue as to what's really going on here, they're going to be the last ones holding the bag. So that buys a lot of time for people who are awake and aware to not necessarily take advantage of the situation, but use your knowledge and your foresight to your advantage to continue to do what you've already been doing at a much greater level. Because at that point, when people really realize it's the currency itself, then that's when all hell could break loose. But you know, how long, who knows? I think it's definitely going to be well into this decade or possibly beyond. So I think they'll be able to manage the fake paper and over of things, because as long as it still spins and you can still go to the store and buy something with it, I think that'll, you know, keep people at bay for now. So that's just my little 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely. One last thing though, Mike. I think we should get together like a broader group on on a Discord channel, man. Something like a border group, something in a community that we can trade safely with each other. We get a PO box or something like that, you know, and we send things back and forth to each other. Get our own market going, our free market.
Yeah.
So that's just the thought. Hey,
I'm about
that.
My
first drone today. I'm doing neighborhood patrols, man.
Hey, I appreciate you. I'm about that. Definitely feel free to reach out to me in the Discord. Let's get that going. So I'm definitely open to ideas such as that. So that's definitely a good idea. Ryan says, Mike, most fourth tourney ends in war. Do you think we are headed to civil war, China, or no war? Ryan, it's always on the table. Not only are we being told about events happening and with China and Russia, there's a possibility of there being some type of dual conflict over there on the Eastern Hemisphere. And then as more people realize that they've been lied to all along, and this entire experience we're having is not about health, and then more fears and thoughts of oppressive government cracking down on our freedoms again, that right there could lead to some people in the streets for real, similar to what's happening in Europe and beyond. So that's definitely on the table. I would imagine it's coming at some point soon. Don't know where, don't know how, but it's always on the table. It's just because from the cycle standpoint, we're always capable of having some type of military conflict because it's profitable to all the military industrial complexes and pharmaceutical complexes, you name it. So let me see here. What else we got here? So a couple more calls. Let me do. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure, Corpus Christi. How's it going?
LBP, doing good, my man. What's up with you?
I don't know, man. A lot of these people freaked out, Mike. They're scared. What's going on?
Scared about what? What's going on? What are you talking about?
Look, man, I watch this other YouTuber. He's all like, you got to get out of the country, and they're gonna drone strike you and all this stuff. It's not gonna happen, Mike. They can't even control a riot in Portland.
Yeah.
They can't even control a couple knuckleheads throwing bottles. How the hell are they gonna go up against the people? It's not gonna happen, Mike.
Hey, and if it doesn't, I wouldn't be mad. So I'll be okay with that. Yeah, I know. So a lot of the, it's very entertaining to pump fear and continuous the doom and gloom. I know it gets numbers, man. So more power to them.
It's ridiculous, Mike.
Yeah.
Look, if you already have an establishment in another country, out in the countryside, or you got family, you could go. I'm not saying don't go, but you can't just pick up your family with a few gold coins and I'm gonna go to anywhere, El Salvador, wherever. I'm just gonna go in the neighborhood and start living. It don't work that way, Mike.
Yeah. Especially
in other countries.
Very true. I agree. And that's why I always talked about as things move forward, depending on how I guess intensified things become for this whole agenda, then that would determine a lot of people's plans, because a lot of people going to have plans that's going to shift as we move forward anyway. So there's no real way of planning out this anyway, other than just putting your trust in God and letting him do the steering of the ship for you. So but yeah, I see how people, some people do it that way.
Yeah, you gotta make a stand, but the best place to make a stand is where you have food, protection, energy, water. Yeah. Not go somewhere to roll the dice. You never know what's gonna happen over there.
Very true. I agree, man. I do agree.
Yeah.
But other than that, what else going on with you, man?
That's it, Mike. I'm waiting to buy silver, Mike. I saw it dipped a little bit. Now I was about to pull the trigger, but I'm gonna wait for the White Friday sales. I don't want to say that word. I want to be politically correct.
So I said I saw the price dipped a little bit, but then again, the question is not the price; is going to be the premiums. You know what I'm saying? So what's too high of a premium for you at this current moment? You got $24 silver. What's too much of a premium on top of that $24 for you?
I'm trying to stay below $5 premium.
Yeah.
But in the end, it doesn't matter, Mike, because it's gonna skyrocket so high that I'm gonna be kicking myself. I'll get it though. I'll get it before
exactly.
Before it goes crazy.
That was my point. So in the long run, I don't care what the premium is now, because you'll make up that plus some as the dollar is further destroyed. So, but I understand getting the most bang for your buck now. But I rather just have something in my possession rather than worry about the price and dips and stuff. So, but hey, appreciate you calling, man.
There's one more thing, Mike, I wanted to ask you. Remember we had that live chat, right? And there was a guy, I don't know, he was from Mississippi. I don't know if it's Darrell or Daryl. He was into Shibu, remember?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that guy? He disappeared. I think he's a millionaire now.
Oh no. So Daryl, no, I think Daryl still pops up, and he still is in a Discord in the off-air chats. And so he's talking about his friend. One of his friends, like a year ago, bought like $100 worth of Shiba Inu, and it turned out to be like 700,000 or something like that. And he ended up getting out about 500,000. So he did well with it. His friend, but it wasn't him. He said he wished he would have when his friend told him to do it, but he didn't directly get involved, I don't think.
But that was before. But remember, it popped again.
Yeah.
And he was talking about getting into it before. We had talked before it popped. This very last one,
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna pop again. Believe me. I mean, Shiba Inu is not going nowhere because as more Federal Reserve units are put out there, it's gonna pop. So right now, I'm looking at it's let's see, 0.00004 cent, and so it's definitely going to get close to 1 penny by next couple years, based upon all the trillions they're gonna put out there. So. I think it's gonna go up. So it ain't going nowhere, I don't think, because it's about to be listed on more exchanges as well. So it ain't going nowhere. Now it's just a matter of what up?
I got my tinfoil yarmulke on, Mike. I think they made crypto to get the people away from gold and silver.
Oh, that's definitely.
Me, though. What do you think about
100%.
That?
I agree 100%. And so it's hard to not dib and dabble because everybody is making so much profit in these things. It's like, who wants to be left out? So let me go ahead and take some of the silver and gold money and put it over here, and hopefully I can double up. But at this point in the game, most of the established projects are already beyond worth really getting into. It's just those diamond in the roughs that's still out there because the sector, it's all software. The sector's not going nowhere. And so I think it's, you got to then do more studying to know what might pop. But it's a gamble, like always. So I mean, my thing is get your weight up first and then dip and dabble later, So I think it's better to have it'd be better to have both in this regard than not having none and missing out on opportunity to get more weight in the end. That's just me.
Good strategy, Mike. I just stick to weight,
Yeah, just stick to maxing the cards out.
Yeah. I just paid them off, Mike. I need to go get a new one. They sent my wife one, so she's like, "I'm gonna give me some gold." I was like, "Yeah, do it."
Well, hey man, keep doing what you do, man. Appreciate you calling in, boss.
All right, Mike. Good to
hear
from you. Thanks
Same here. Yeah. Oh man, good stuff. All right, people, with that hour point, man, it's time to dial back. Definitely looking forward to connecting again tomorrow. Let's do it again tomorrow. So I was always trying to find new ways to get you guys involved and let you guys have more of a say and, educate and share your expertise to the community. So I want to encourage those that are tuned in, click the link below, join the Discord page, join the Telegram page so that you guys can stay plugged in and talk on air, off air, whatnot. And stay in tune as a community and just share what you guys see coming across your radar. So, but anyway, with that, about to dial back. Let's pick up again tomorrow, same time, same place if you guys want. And as always, just close out a little bit of prayer, giving props where props are due to the good Lord for another opportunity to connect and many more, hopefully, in the future. So, Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight to just lift up the name of Jesus Christ, the name that is above all names. We thank you, Father, for your power that's at work in this season, Father. We thank you for your mighty hands that's moving in the earth right now. Despite all the things the enemy is doing, Father, we know that you're greater than, and that you have your greater plans for all and each and every one of us, Lord. We ask you to allow us to tap into our unique areas of gifting, allow us to be a blessing to others, allow us to continue to expand your kingdom through just sharing our testimony and sharing the good news, Father, that you commissioned us to preach, Lord. We just thank you in advance for all you have done and will do. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. All right, people. That is all she wrote. As always, it's good to connect. And other than that, let's do it again tomorrow. Be blessed, be safe. I will see you guys later. Peace. Visit Rethinking the Dollar throughout the day. Your place for news on metals, gold, crypto, you name it. Scroll down to the bottom and you get a chance to see the daily videos, the recommended videos, and more importantly, the 5 reasons to unplug from the monetary matrix, with the first one being the awakening period. Step number 1, test your dollar IQ. 10 simple questions, average is 60%. Follow up with the alternative perspective with the monetary reports. Consider becoming a supporter of the Rethinking the Dollar platform via Patreon. Get a chance to hang out off air as well as additional information that can't be discussed on YouTube. Any support is helpful. With the crackdown on alternative media, the best thing to do is connect off air. Scroll down to the very bottom. You can find Rethinking the Dollar on Telegram, audio, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, you name it. The most important ones will be the email list where you can get notified weekly, the Discord page, and make sure you connect on Telegram. And last, don't forget to visit the RTD store where you can get merchandise as well as additional information and resources. And most importantly, scroll down to the bottom and get your weight up with all the limited edition rounds only available on the RTD store.